The video of today is about plugins that will make your website safer. And they have two recommendations. First of all, I want to say that it's important for you that you understand that you should install as less plugins as possible, because they will actually make your website heavier, which means it will grow in size. And these developers usually don't work with each other. So the intercompatibility might be problematic sometimes. So fewer is better. You should only use essential plugins and nothing more. Every time you can actually program something with a few lines of code, you should prefer to actually program it. And I will show you that it's not too hard to understand CSS or write CSS. In further tutorials, I will show you how to do it. Anyway, let's get started. To ensure the security of your web page, first I showed you in the last video how to actually set up a backup with WP Clone for your website. Now, there's another thing which you should actually consider. That is the possibility that someone will try to hack into your WordPress page, which means into the login page. Therefore, the first thing you should do is to actually use a proper password, which means the password should contain a few letters, a few numbers. It shouldn't be used on another web page or as credentials for another login. So it should be long enough, and it should have a combination of small letters, big letters, and actually numbers. Then another problem is that by default, many login pages for WordPress actually use the user admin. So you should directly change this. So the user is not admin anymore, but something else. So the name should differ. For example, I chose my first user as a name. Then you should understand how a brute force works. So why is it important to have a proper password and a good username which differs from the word admin? Basically, someone can actually access your WordPress page and then try unlimited combinations of username and password. The shorter your password is and the less variety you have in your password, which means not a good combination of small letters, big letters, and numbers and so on, the easier it is to hack into your page. So how can we avoid that? It's actually pretty simple. That's why it's important to have a different username than admin, because otherwise someone has just to try for the username of admin all kinds of password combinations. And if you have a bad password, which only contains a few numbers or a few letters, your website could be hacked in no time. How can we avoid it? First, we change the username to something else than admin, and then we set a better password. I would recommend at least 10 characters and a wild combination of letters, numbers, big letters, and so on. And then we can install limit login attempts reloaded, which means that you can limit the amount of login attempts for one IP address. So that means that if someone would try to hack your page, he or she would have to change the IP address lots of times, which would make the process very obnoxious. So this is something that will not make it entirely safe, but it will make it much harder to actually hack your page. This plugin, activated in combination with the security measures I just mentioned, should ensure that it's very, very hard to actually hack your page. And the probability that you will be hacked should be minimized with the mentioned security measures. Another thing you should consider is to think about that often when web pages or computers are hacked, it's due to outdated software. So another thing you should always do is actually keep your plugins and other things up to date. Another plugin that might come in handy is actually the plugin Anti-Spam-Bee. This plugin actually protects your website from spam. What does it mean? For example, on your contact page, there's a possibility to contact you, usually, with a message to your email. This Anti-Spam-Bee will actually block it. And a good thing about this plugin is that it is allowed to use for commercial pages. So for pages that have a commercial use. Additionally, if someone wants to advertise something on other sites, in your comment section underneath your posts, Anti-Spam-Bee will work against that as well. Obviously, these kind of plugins won't give you 100% protection, but they will always help to actually protect you from spam and will always work. So you don't have to worry that much about spam anymore, because they will actually take a lot of the work which is necessary to be done off your workload. The next video will be about other plugins that actually will give you a better user experience for modifying your WordPress page.